You might be wondering, what does my mindset have to do with my bank account? Well, get ready to have your mind blown, because the way you think about money can either propel you towards your financial goals or keep you stuck in a cycle of debt and struggle. Welcome to Dollars and Dreams, the podcast designed to empower you to take control of your personal and business finance. You know, the very thought of money and finance can often send chills down your spine and stir up fear of the unknown. But let's change that narrative together. Through this podcast, my goal is to not only to provide you with useful information, but also to inspire and motivate you to take action towards your own financial goals. Let's rewrite your money story together. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Dollars and Dreams. Today's episode is about something that I'm really passionate about and something that I always get everybody that I work with when they're working with me around their money and their financial future, and it is your money mindset. Now, a lot of people will turn off when I start talking about getting their mindset right, and it's the first module of my course in anything that I do when it comes to money is let's dig into what your mindset, thoughts and processes are when it comes to money. Because as we know, our thoughts and our feelings reacts with how we tackle something. You know, if we go into a situation that we're uncomfortable with, then we're not quite as open to change. We're not quite as open to stretching our boundaries. But if we go in with that real positive mindset to any situation, not just your money, you take a very different approach to it and you will be much more forthcoming. You'll be more open to change. You'll learn more and you'll approach things in a different manner. And look, I always use the example, and anybody who's listened to any of my other podcasts or, of course, done any of my webinars or my courses will hear me say that you would never expect an Olympic athlete to stand up at the blocks ready to dive into the pool or run down the track to think and look along the line and go, I've got no chance here. You know, I'm not going to win. I don't know what I wasted 4 years of training for. They get in there and they give it a red hot crack because they take the approach that, you know what, I've done the work. I can do this. I've got a great chance of winning this race. And it is about mindset. And we hear all of our elite athletes now, you know, Ash Barty, Roger Federer, Tiger Woods, they all had mindset coaches. And the reason that they have mindset coaches is because then they will take a very different approach to their craft and they will be better at what they do. And it's something that the general population don't tend to do because we can't afford to have a mindset coach in our daily lives. Whereas the elite athletes can certainly look at that as part of their team, along with their coaches, their physios, their managers and everything else. So whilst we can't afford to have a mindset coach on board, there's plenty of things that we can do to change our mindset, and especially when it comes to our money. So there's two different trains of thoughts that I'm going to talk about today, and there is what we call the fixed or the growth mindset, and that's not specifically around money. That one is Carol Dweck wrote a book a few years ago about this, and she dug deep into these two different approaches that we have. So when you have a fixed mindset, you will always look at you can't do something or you can't get better than where you are now. A growth mindset is the person that will always look at something as a learning process. And the other part that we're going to talk about is specifically around money, and that is the scarcity or the abundance mindset. The thing that I need you to be aware of is that your mindset was created when you were very small. And scientists believe that it creates somewhere between about the age of 2 and 6. And it is established by the environment that you're in. So your family, your family's friends, how they think and feel about money. But we'll jump into all of that very soon. But I just want you to think about in this process that your mindset, whether it be we're thinking about your total mindset, so the fixed or the growth mindset, or whether we're talking about money in the scarcity or abundance, that none of that mindset is fixed. You can change it. And it's a matter of you thinking about what you want to do, taking proactive steps to change that mindset, and putting things in place on a daily basis to work towards changing it. Whether you're switching from a fixed to a growth mindset or a scarcity to an abundance mindset, you need to understand that it is a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and you need to keep working at it. So, of course, our mindset acts as a lens, and it will distort or clarify our financial reality. So it influences how we will perceive opportunities that are presented to us, how we tolerate the risks that we want to take in life with our money, and it also dictates our own capabilities. Because if you have a fixed or a scarcity mindset, then you will constantly be looking that you've reached your capabilities. There's no point stretching yourself because you can only do what you can do. And a negative mindset can have significant impacts on our daily life. It can blind us to opportunities that we can have and opportunities that we can take to improve our financial situation or control our money, whereas a positive mindset can really turn things around so that you take a different approach to not only the current situation that you're in now, but also your future situation. You know, if you believe that you're never going to have enough money for retirement, you're 99.9% there to make sure that you don't have enough money for retirement because you've told yourself that you don't have the ability to change the situation that you're in. So mindset is a really, really important part of what we do. As I said, it's the very first module or the foundation of everything that I do when I work with people to change their money situation or build their own financial wealth. It's also the first module that I do when I work with business owners to grow their business and create financial freedom for themselves. So I want you, as part of listening to this podcast, is to really think when you've finished listening to it or watching it, how does what Jen said resonate with how I live my life? And I always say, imagine if there were two people. They both lost their jobs. One with a fixed mindset would go home and would go into despair, thinking that this is it. I'm never going to get a job. I'm never going to find, I'm too old. I'm never going to get a job with the same income I've got. And of course, then when you go to interviews or you put your resumes in, you'll write those resumes or you will present yourself in a very negative view because the way your mind thinks is the way you project everything that you do, whether it's how you project your appearance, how you project your confidence, how you project how you feel about things. Whereas the other person that lost their job, if they've got a growth mindset, they might look at this as a great opportunity to change careers, a great opportunity to find a place that suits them better for their employment conditions. They may want to have more flexibility. They may want to work at home, and that wasn't a possibility. So they don't look at it so much as a setback. They will look at it as, this is a great chance for me to change the situation I'm in, or change the life that I have, or change the career path. And they will take it as a real learning situation for them. So they'll look at that this happened for a reason, and I'm going to grab this situation with both hands, and I'm going to take an action that will give me something better. So if you catch yourself thinking that I'm really bad with money, I'm never going to have anything, money's only for the wealthy, these are the negative thought processes that can really hold you back from what you want to do. So as I said, the first one that I want to talk about is the fixed or the growth mindset. And this was, as I said, from a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And I read this book, and when I was reading it, there was so many aha moments for me. I never understood before I started looking into all of this how my mindset had impacted my career and my finances. Everybody will say to me, "You're so lucky, Jen. You know how to manage your money. You know how to be better with your money. You can do this." And I can, no doubt about it. It's my career. But it is because I took the training to get here. I wasn't born with this knowledge, and I certainly didn't, have it morph into my body at some point. I made lots of mistakes when it came to my money in my 20s, and I've talked about this openly on other podcasts, and I certainly do when I'm working with people. Don't think I didn't make mistakes. I made a ton of mistakes, and they cost me a lot of money, and I still make mistakes. I'm a continual learner. I buy courses, digital courses. I do face-to-face courses. I do a ton of training in different things. I also do a ton of reading on things that I'm interested in. And I really dug into the mindset around money probably, 4 or 5 years ago, when I started to think, why are some of my business clients really successful in what they're doing? And then I have other clients that are in the same occupation, doing the same job, but are really struggling financially. And I started to sit down and I'd think to myself, they have the same training. Let's say they're both plumbers. The plumbers have the same training. They had the same opportunities. They're in the same city. They have the same technology. They have everything the same. What is the difference between client A and client B? And then I started to talk to them, and I started to realize that they had, all I knew at that stage is that they had a real positive attitude. Client A might be saying to me, this is my plan of what I'm going to do. I've set down my 5-year plan. And as business coaches, we always talk about our 5-year plan. And so I just thought, it's just because they've done what we said to do. They've looked at their exit strategy, and we always say in business and in life, start with the end in mind. And I'm not saying that means, look at your death or anything like that. I'm saying, what does your end of your working career look like? Are you wanting to retire at 65, 67, or do you want to go out at 58? I've had clients that have come in and said, I don't want to work full-time after 50. And they've really had that drilled into them and nailed down where they see themselves. So they set a far better plan for themselves financially. So they put things in place. They look back from that. I want to retire, or not retire, but, certainly work 3 days a week from the age of 50. And I've had clients that have done that as a couple. It's not like one was going to stop home 3 days a week and work 2 days and the other one was going to work full time. I've had this where both clients have said, we want to work 3 days a week. That gives us 4 days a week. We want to just go camping. We want to enjoy life. We want to enjoy the fruits of our hard work for the last 30 years. And of course, for most of us, when we hit our 50s, we've at least worked 30 years. And so with these clients, I just thought originally that they just had a good focus on their end goal and good goal setting. But then I started to dig into their personalities, and I'd look at these successful ones, and the successful ones were the ones that I always enjoyed working with. And from my point of view, I had to ask why I enjoyed working with them. It wasn't their personalities were different. The two clients that I'm specifically talking about now were both the most loveliest people that you would ever want to work with or have as a friend. And they're certainly somebody, whilst they're not my friends, they're my clients. I certainly enjoyed sitting with them in meetings and talking to them about their money, their business, their family. And I realized that client A I enjoyed more because they always had a positive attitude, whereas client B would always say to me, it's really hard, Jen. I try to do this, it doesn't work. I have people complaining about my bills. I'm having people complaining about the work. And I originally put that down to that, well, maybe they didn't think about their ideal customer and they didn't think about different things. But then I looked and I started digging more into this, and I realized that it wasn't. One had a very different attitude. So when something went wrong, and something always goes wrong in our daily life, whether it's our business or our own personal life. My first client had that real growth mindset. So he would look at anything that went wrong in his business that, oh, that's okay. I'll fix it up, but I'll put a system in place so that it doesn't happen again. And I'll look at why it happened. And he would say to me, sometimes it was because it was a tough job and I didn't allow enough time. So my tradesmen felt like they were under pressure to get the job finished because the next day they needed to start another job. So he said, sometimes I needed to look at the amount of time that I'd allowed for a job because that was on me. I didn't allow enough time. Other things that would be that the client wasn't clear on what they wanted. So he said, I went back and before we start a job, I sat down with the clients and really set out, this is what we'll get done. This is not what we're doing. And he said, I got a better outcome there because the clients knew instead of me assuming that the client knew. And then he looked at also the resourcing. So he said, I needed to be conscious that my staff couldn't do a lot of big heavy lifting all day because there's only so much work that you can do that's physically or mentally challenging. And he said to me, so I would do that. We would get in first thing in the morning. They would go and do those mentally or physically challenging jobs. And then in the afternoon, we would try to do more of the ones that weren't quite so demanding. So he said my productivity increased because instead of them trying to challenge and push them through these thresholds that they couldn't get to, it would be that they just had to really do that physically tough or mentally tough job for the first part of the day, and then they could do things that were a little bit easier. Then when I talked to client B, he hadn't taken those learnings. He was saying, the client's always whinging. The client always wants more than what we've quoted for. The client was never there when we needed to ask questions, and it was always somebody else's fault. And I started to then look into mindset because for me, I had discovered that my two clients that were both in the same industry, both in the same location, were both serving the same client, had very different mindsets. So the fixed mindset was the one that had the negative. It was always somebody else. And the fixed mindset sees failure as a reflection of an inherent ability. And so he was seeing that it's not my fault, it's just that we can't do what everybody wants to do. And the growth mindset client was saying, you know what, we failed here, but let's find out why we failed and do something so that it doesn't happen again. That doesn't mean that you will never fail again. It just means that the chances are that it will happen less often, that it will happen when you are feeling in control, or when something like this happens, you can say to yourself, it happened, this is what I did last time, I can fix it. So the people with a growth mindset will embrace challenges. They'll seek out feedback from their clients or their students or their, whoever they're working with. And they will look to put things in place. They'll be more resilient when it comes to running both their financial life at home and their financial place in business. And whilst I'm using examples here of two business owners, I see this all the time in my individuals. I just didn't have that same comparison because we don't know what happens in other people's lives at home unless they choose to work one-on-one with me. But with business owners, I could see that because I could see their financials, I could see their attitude, I knew what work they were doing, I knew everything about them. But when I took those learnings that I had with my business clients and I started looking at my individual people that I work with their money and their finances, I was seeing the same thing. I would have people sitting opposite me saying, no point me doing any budget. I haven't got enough money. It's no point me setting up my 6 bank accounts because I don't have enough money to put money into 6 bank accounts. It's no point me doing this because I'm never going to get ahead. I don't have enough money. Cost of living is killing me. Interest rates have gone up. Rent's gone up. And I could see it was all the blocks that they were putting in place to justify why they weren't doing anything. And that's really what it comes down to. When people have a fixed mindset, they will believe that this is my life. This is the best that I can have. This is all I can ever expect. And nothing can be further from the truth. I'm never going to be an Olympic athlete. Never was going to be. It didn't matter how much training I did. I was never going to do that. But I could always be better at what I did. And, look, I think I've said on these podcasts, I went back to the gym 6 or 8 months ago now. And I hadn't been in a gym since before I had children, really. I'd gone back a few times, but it never really lasted. So I chose this time when I went back to the gym to go back into a group training setting. One, because when you're in a gym on your own, you probably don't push yourself as much as you should. And I know that. At one stage when my kids were quite little, I got a personal trainer for a while. And he would push me far harder than I would ever push. I'd be lifting weights and I wanted to give up. And he would be standing there saying to me, he wasn't a yelling coach. I'm not going to say that a personal trainer is one of those ones that's in your ear yelling and everything. But he would just be going, Jen, 2 more, you can do 2 more. And I'd think, I can't do 2 more, I can't. And he'd go, 1 first, let's do 1. So you'd lift 1 more weight. And then as I'm coming down with the weights, I go, I can't do this, I can't do it. And he'd be going, you just did 1 that you told me you couldn't do. 1 more, you can do it. And then we're done. And I'd lift 1 more and I'd be done. And I could do it. I might not have done it quite so well. I might not have done it quite so strategically, but it was done. And I would not have done those other 2 lifts if I was in the gym by myself. And so when I work with people with their finances, I always say that to them. You can go and do your own budget. You can go and do your own goal setting. You can go and do everything yourself. I don't have a magic wand, but what I do have is accountability. And as I said, people with a fixed mindset that don't see that as the first issue, they will never work with me because they don't see that it's value to work with somebody to get better at what they're doing because they can't get better at anything because what they have is what they have. Whereas when I talk to a person with a growth mindset, they will look and they go, you know what? I need to do something. I don't know how to do it. I'm not quite sure how to achieve my goals. I don't even know what my goals are. And so they will come and work with me because they understand that there is a place to get to that they know they want to get to. They just don't know how to get there. And they don't know the systems and procedures that they need to put in place to get there. So a growth mindset person would say, I'm going to learn about how to invest or how to be better with my money or get myself in a place that I can retire when I want to retire. They will look at that as a step-by-step process that they need to do to get better at what they want to get better at. So the first thing that I always say to everybody is embrace mindset. So if you're sitting, listening or watching to this podcast and you are nodding along or saying, I've said those words, I've said, I'm never going to be able to retire because I don't earn enough. Cost of living is killing me. I can't get ahead because interest rates or rent has gone up. Everything, when I go to the groceries, what I used to spend $200 on now, I've got to spend $250. I'm never going to get there. Can I implore you to embrace the not yet mindset? I'm not going to get there yet, but I will get there. I don't know how to budget yet, but I will learn how to do that. I don't know how to invest yet, but I am going to teach myself how to do that. Now, I'm not saying you need to come to me to do any of my courses or do any of my trainings and things or work with me. Don't get me wrong, this is not a hard sell. This is a sell to you to be better at what you're doing. There's lots and lots of teachings that are free. There's lots of things that you can research thanks to Google. But just keep in mind that the difference between working with somebody and doing it yourself is that accountability. I talked about, when I went into the gym with a personal trainer, I wouldn't have done those extra couple of lifts that he made me do. But I did them. I didn't do them pretty, but every week I got stronger and stronger. And the reason that I went back, I gave up my personal trainer because it just got too hard with 3 very small babies. I think, we're going through winter and we had colds and everything, and I couldn't get there. So I gave up, not because it wasn't working for me, but it wasn't suitable to the timeframes that I had. I've gone back to a gym now, and I decided this time to go to a group training session because I wanted to challenge myself against other people. Now, we always say that we should challenge ourselves against ourselves, and I'm not saying that I wanted to be able to lift what they could lift or do as many sit-ups as they could do. I definitely don't. Some of those are in their 20s and 30s. I'm in my 50s. And some of my class are men. And let's face it, men as we age definitely are stronger than women as we age. But when I say I wanted to challenge myself against other people, I wanted to challenge that I could do what they could do. I wanted to challenge that I would show up when they were showing up. And I wanted to challenge against them to be better. I wanted to get closer to what they have achieved. Some of those people have been in gyms forever. And so there was a long way to go for me to get there. And I will never get there with some of them, but I was using them as a source of inspiration, a source of, they've got kids and they get here. My kids look after themselves now. I don't need to get them out of bed and make their breakfast and make their lunch and get them off to work. They do that themselves. But I would look at these people and they had younger children, and I'm thinking, I want to challenge myself against you because you found the time to get here and you found the time to do something for yourself that made you better. And so that was my challenge that I wanted in the group training session. Automatically, when people around you are achieving and you have that growth mindset, you will achieve as well. So that is the advantage of doing a training course with somebody that will make you accountable. It will make you be better at what you want to do because you are constantly being challenged instead of taking the approach that you would take if you went into the gym on yourself. Oh, I can't lift any more of these weights. I've done as many bench presses as I can do. Or, I can't do any more sit-ups. That person sitting there going, Jen, you can do 2 more. You can push yourself through it. And you know what? I could push myself through it. So it was something we could do. So now let's talk about the 2 money mindsets that we have. And I said earlier on in this podcast that your money mindset is created when you're very young. It's influenced by the people around you, and it's how you feel about money, how you think about money, and how you look at sharing money. And they are the scarcity and the abundance mindset, or I call them the glass half full and the glass half empty mindset. And technically that's not the case, but it's a good way for people to understand. So the scarcity mindset people are the people that have a fear of money, and it is deeply rooted to our environment that we grew up in. As I said, it is definitely something that you can change, and I've seen families where they've been brought up in the exact same environment with the same family, with the same influences, the same everything, and I will see one sibling with an abundance mindset and another sibling with a scarcity mindset. So that will show you that your environment is only part of the process. And as adults, as we know, we can decide we want to be better. And we see this in other walks of life. We'll see kids that have come from an environment that's not exactly friendly. There might be domestic violence, there might be drugs, there might be criminal records, there can be lots of things. Those kids can make a decision that that's not what I want for my life. I don't want this cycle to continue. And that is the same with your money mindset. So, you might have grown up in a real scarcity environment where there was lots of arguments about money, where there was never enough money to go around. There was constantly, getting letters to say you haven't paid your bills, etc. But then you become an adult, you can make that decision that I don't want that for me and my family. That conscious decision is you switching your mindset from that fixed to the growth that I talked about earlier. But it's also moving yourself from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. So the scarcity mindset, people will say things like, I've got no hope of ever having money because money's only for people that have grown up with money. Money's only for people that have got a great job. Money's the root of all evil. If I've got money, you become greedy, you become less forgiving on the world and things like that. And then they take that view that they're never going to have money. Well, guess what? They're not going to have money because they don't manage it well. Because when money comes in, they take the view of, well, I'm never going to have it. I might as well go and blow it, or I'll just go and spend it. They don't look at budgeting because that means that they would be taking a positive approach to their money. Scarcity mindset people believe that money is a finite thing. And, we all know it's not. You can change the situation that you're in to where you are. Scarcity mindset people will also tell themselves that what I've got, I'm happy with. I don't need anything more. I don't need opportunities because that means I've got to work, and I don't want to be able to do that and have to do that. So they might not spend money either. They might hoard it because they're scared that money will run out. And you might say to me, but isn't that good because they're hoarding money? But that means that they're not enjoying life. And by hoarding money, they can be going without things. And of course, life isn't about going without. So changing your mindset to an abundance mindset where you take control of money, where money is a tool. And you've probably heard me always talk about in podcasts and everything that money's just money. It's not anything other than a tool to give us what we want in life. It's a tool that gives us our hopes and our dreams, and it's a tool for us to control. And it's no more than a hammer that bangs in a nail for a carpenter, or it's no more of a tool than it is for a bobcat driver to dig dirt. It is a tool that is there for you to control. And when you get that real abundance mindset, you do realize that you can control money. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard work. Don't get me wrong. If you're on a low income and you're trying to save and budget with the cost of living, but it gives you that sense of control. And scarcity mindset people are always in fear that the bill that they're going to open that they can't pay. Whereas an abundance mindset person is, I've got this bill, I've saved for it, I've done what I need to do so that I can get over the situation that I'm in. An abundance mindset person looks at, I can share my money with the world through donations or giving money to people that are less fortunate to me because it is a tool that I can get that can make things better. And one of the things I say to people with a scarcity mindset when they say, money's for evil, if you have more money in your control, you have more money to make the world a better place. People talk about the mega rich people like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and, all of those. They contribute billions of dollars to charities and welfare organisations, their own charities even. And a lot of these billionaires, people look at them that they're greedy, they're living a lifestyle, they're buying, $10,000 handbags, but they are giving more money away than the rest of us are as a collective. So as we can build our own wealth, we can do better in the world. We can donate more to our charities that will help the people less fortunate than us or people in the world that have no clean running water. That is an abundance mindset person will look at the next step of their money, just not what they have. So I think what you might have got out of what I'm talking about is that Whether it be fixed mindset or a growth mindset or the scarcity and abundance mindset, it's all mental blocks that we have. And money blocks are unconscious and they can be difficult to identify and remove from your life. And so I always say to everybody, sit down and think about why you think about money like you do. What's made you come to where you are with your money and have those blocks? Is it because of the environment you grew up in? Is it because of the situation you've found yourself in? Is it because you don't understand money, so you need to be educated and learn? I mean, we didn't know how to drive a car when we first sat in the driver's seat for the very first time. And that was a fear we had. I don't know about you, but when I first sat in the car to drive home from getting my learner's permit, my oldest brother was my instructor that day. And he took me in, drove me in. I got my L's, passed the test, got handed my learner's driver's license, walked out and went to get in the passenger seat. And my older brother just looked at me and he goes, "You just got your license. Why would you not be getting in the driver's seat?" And I said to him, "Because look at all the cars. You know, I can't do my first drive home in this." And he said to me, "But every time you get in a car, the first time you're going to be amongst cars." And I said to him, "But can't we go to a shopping centre where there's no cars?" And he goes, "Get in the driver's seat, Jen, we're doing this." And I sat in the driver's seat and literally my hands were shaking, my heart was racing, my hands were getting all sweaty. I put my seatbelt on and my brother said to me, "Check your side mirrors, make sure you can see the side of your car and the cars behind you. Look in your revision mirror, can you see a car? And let's put it into gear," and off we go. I bunny hopped that first little bit because we had a manual car. So I bunny hopped, I did everything. It was the longest 15 minutes of my life to get home from the registry where we had to go back then because there was no online registry. I was shaking. I didn't think I ever wanted to sit in a driver's seat of a car again. That afternoon, my dad came home and he said to me, "Out to the car, we're going for a half-hour drive." And I just went, I can't cope. I can't do that. I haven't, I drove home from the city. I can't do it. And he said to me, "Yep, and we're going to go and get rid of that fear now." And we got in the car. We went for a drive. I still wasn't comfortable, don't get me wrong, but I was far more comfortable than I was for that first one. And it was because my father recognized that I was starting to put a block up. I was scared. I didn't want to drive, and he knew that I needed to get back on the horse, as he said. So think about that with your money. What is your fear around money? What do you see that you need to improve, and what do you want to do? Think about your money mindset before you think about anything else. Are you a fixed or a growth mindset person? Are you a scarcity or an abundance mindset person? How do you think, feel, and act around money? And I want you to start there, please. Write a journal of how you feel about money, what your thoughts are when somebody says, "Do you want to come away for the weekend?" What your thoughts are when you get that email that's got a bill attached, or your thoughts about money when you go grocery shopping. Think about the positive and the negative. They are always going to be there, but what you need to do is look at the negative as a possibility to change your scenario and rewrite your money story. So my actionable tips for you today before I finish this podcast is to write down your money story. And we've got lots of resources on our jenrichardson.co website if you need to grab some of those resources. Start to write some really positive affirmations around money, because when we think about something more positively, we will act in a more positive manner. And that's the mindset that we need. It's an abundance mindset that you need to get to. And it is really about, manifestation. And I've got a podcast coming up very soon on manifestation, I think it is and what some people do. And the positive mindset and the positive approach is the very basis of everything that we should be doing in our life. And it is that real lifestyle that we need to adapt to, and what we need to do when we're thinking about everything that we do in our life, not just our money. So redefine your financial success, redefine where you want to see yourself, and redefine your money story one step at a time. And, one of the things that I say to people is stop looking at what you see on social media, because what you see on social media is smoke and mirrors. We don't see what their life is behind it. And plenty of people will be on there saying, this is how I did whatever it is. And of course, they haven't done that. They just project it. They're projecting a really positive approach for people. And we are attracted to people that seem to have achieved, because we think that if we're around them, if we do what they're doing, we'll get there. So stop the comparison. Look at yourself, look at where you want to be, and look at your own mindset. Follow those social accounts that trigger you to be envious. Unfollow those social accounts that trigger you to feel like you can't measure up, and unfollow those ones that aren't giving you steps to change where you are. Not, hey, look, I've made 100,000 in a year from this. You need to focus on your goals and celebrate your own achievements. The fear can be removed when you educate yourself and take a different approach to the way that you look at it. I mean, we hear about the law of attraction and everything like that, but the law of attraction is based on a positive thought and mindset, which will then get you to approach things in a more positive manner. So if you can change your approach to money and how you feel about money, you will have walked 90% of the way to doing what you want to do. So, of course, if you need any help with your financing or what you need to do with your financial goals, reach out to us here at jenrichardson.co. We've got My Money Makeover. I've got a mindset course starting very soon. I'm in the process of writing that one now. And, of course, we've got the Super Savvy Woman for Australian women who want to improve their superannuation balances for retirement. But there's plenty of resources on our home webpage called jenrichardson.co. Jump on there, grab some of our planners, as I said, or our goal-setting courses. They're all free, or come on and watch some of our free webinars that we have there. So that's it for me this week. Thank you for joining me. Remember, if you know anybody that needs any help with their personal finance or building their financial wealth, tell them about my podcast or send them over to my homepage, jenrichardson.co. And I wish you all the very best for the next week. Thank you for joining me, and have a lovely day. Bye. Remember, the advice shared in Dollars and Dreams is general in nature, and it does not consider your own personal circumstances. Dollars and Dreams is for educational purposes only and should not be relied upon to make investment or financial decisions. If you need more help, please reach out to a financial advisor for tailored personal advice. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. And please leave me a review. Your feedback really helps me to reach other people chasing their money dreams. You can find me over on Facebook and Instagram to connect with me. You will find the link in the bio, or head over to my website at jenrichardson.co, where you will find free content and learning tools.